In this video, I'm going to continue to talk about alternative decision rules. I'm going to talk about IRR and IRR decision rule. So first of all, let's see what is the definition of IRR. IRR, or internal rate of return, is the discount rate that makes NPV equal to zero. So IRR is the discount rate at which the present value of benefits from doing a project would be exactly equal to the present value of cost of doing a project. So how to calculate IRR? To calculate IRR, we need to write out the NPV formula and make it equal to zero. So if NPV equals zero, then our initial investment would be equal to the present value of the cash flows from doing the project. So if I have several cash flows and then I have my last cash flow at time n, then if I solve this equation for r, so if I solve for r, the r that I get would be IRR, or the internal rate of return for this project. Usually, it's not easy to calculate IRR by hand. It's involve some trial and error, so we can use a financial calculator or spreadsheets to solve for IRR of a project. But now let's see what is the decision rule of IRR. IRR decision rule is as follows. So first of all, we need to calculate the IRR for the project, and then we need to compare it to the cost of capital for doing that project. So if IRR of a project is larger than its cost of capital, we would accept that project. Otherwise, we would reject that project. Okay? Okay, now let's solve this example to see how we can use the IRR decision-making rule for a standalone project. Suppose that a project needs $81.6 million initial investment. This project will generate $28 million in cash flows for 4 years, starting next year. The appropriate discount rate for this project is 10%. The questions ask what is the IRR for this project, and also determine whether the firm should accept this project or not. So first of all, what I do is that I need to create a timeline to have an idea about the cash flows for this project. So here's my timeline. Our initial investment would be at time 0, and then I have 4 cash flows at the end of each year. Okay. So then to calculate IRR, as you know, IRR is the discount rate at which NPV is equal to 0, or it's a discount rate that makes NPV equal to 0. So I would write NPV formula and then make this equal to 0. So if I solve for R in this equation, given that NPV is 0, I can calculate IRR. But as I already said, it's usually difficult to solve for IRR. So we need to use our financial calculator. So the way to use our financial calculator is as follows. So first of all, we need to enter or input our cash flows in using this CF button in our calculator. If you see any number in your CF button, so here I'm seeing minus 100 as the initial investment, or CF0. So I need to first clear this before being able to do the problem. The way to do that, and I always suggest you to start with clearing the cash flows and then do your problem. So the way to do that is selecting this second button, yellow second button on your calculator, and click on C/C button. So this way, your calculator is clean and you're ready to go. So then I would put the first initial investment, and because it's cash outflow, I put a negative sign up front. Then I need to press enter to save this cash flow. Then I use this down arrow button. So now I see CO1. So for CO1, it's our first cash flow, or the cash flow at the end of year one. So then I need to press enter, and here I'm going to skip this F01, or the frequency of cash flows, and then again, if I select the down arrow button one more time, I would see CO2. I'm going to enter 28 as well, then enter, and I'm going to skip again, and then the third cash flow, 28 again, and then the fourth cash flow. Okay, so now we are done. And what we need to do is to calculate IRR. So I would first select this IRR button, and then I would select CPT, or the compute button. So once I select it, it would give me the answer. So the answer is 13.99%, or almost 14%. So our IRR is 14%. And the question says the opportunity cost of capital, or the discount rate for these cash flows, is 10%. So I need to compare these two numbers together. And when I do that, I see that the IRR is larger than the opportunity cost of capital, so I would accept the project. So the firm should accept this project because IRR is larger than the opportunity cost of capital for this project. And all of this is given that we are using the IRR rule. So let me remind you that we should always stick to the MPV rule. We were learning about IRR rule, but we should remember that we need to always stick with the MPV rule, because the MPV is the best method, or it's our golden rule. In most cases, IRR would agree with NPV rule for standalone projects. In the next videos, we will talk about the cases that IRR might not agree with the MPV rule. And those usually happens when we want to choose among multiple projects that are mutually exclusive.